What up friends, Liron here, thank you for joining me in another video. I've been asked for so long to make a video about perspective, so today I have something fun for you. Basically, yesterday I did a sketch that was a preparation for a watercolor painting. The painting turned like crap, but the drawing itself is something that really shows perspective in a nice way. So what I will do now is I recorded the process, I'm gonna narrate what I'm doing, but even before that, I want us to just look at the scene again real fast, and I will explain to you real time what's going through my mind as I sketch what I see. Okay, and then we'll move on to the narration. So let's get started. Okay friends, so here's what basically happens in that scene. We have a relatively simple one-point perspective or two-point perspective, depending on how you choose to look at it, and I will put the reference here somewhere. Let me just create a border for us, just so that it's easier to understand what's going on. So basically, perspective is dictated by how many sets of parallel lines you have. So if you're looking at a winding street and it's sort of going into the distance, all the lines that are, for example, if you look from above and we have this street, then we have the curb line here, and this is an upper view, okay, and we have the curb there, and we have these sort of things in the middle of the road. We have cars coming from here, we have cars coming over to that direction, and so all of these lines are parallel. This is a top view again. Now when we put it into perspective, parallel lines fade into one vanishing point. Okay, this is the gist of it. So if this is the horizon line and we have this vanishing point here, all parallel lines will move towards that. Okay, and I'm being really rough because I don't want to get into too many details. I just want you to understand the basics so you can understand what I'm doing in this scene. So we have all parallel lines that go here in that direction. If we have some power lines running, we'll have, that's like the classic example. You have these kind of power lines going into the distance, fading into that vanishing point. You have this road here. And hopefully you get the picture and you can read this well. You may have like mountains in the background or stuff like that. This looks like a desert area. And this is the road. You can turn this into railroad tracks just by adding these sort of lines and so on. Now the thing is that the height of the horizon line and all of those things dictate what you're looking at. Now this is for a case when we have one set of parallel lines. If we have two sets of parallel lines, we're gonna get something a little different. So let's make another box here, and we have the horizon line again somewhere. Let's put it like here. Now the reason I'm stretching it outside the box is because usually when you have two-point perspective, the points themselves are outside of the frame. Okay, so in this example, let's say we're looking at a building and we're looking at the building's corner. Now on the corner we have lines running to this direction, we have lines running to that direction. If we look at the building from above, the building may look really simple like this, or maybe it's a two-part building, something like that. These lines are all parallel, and all the windows on them are parallel, and all the different objects that are on them are parallel. But these lines are a different set of parallel lines. So we have one point for each of these, and let me show you just how simple it is. So I just pull a line from one vanishing point, like that. I pull another one from the other vanishing point, and what we basically get is the corner of that building. That's all we have here. If I pull another one, and as long as you pull them out of the vanishing point, you'll do good, okay? So I pull another one, and I pull another one, and here we kind of have the corner. Now if we add just maybe another line like this, and another line like that, we actually have the building in two-point perspective. Okay, I'm being really rough here, I just want you to understand the concept. If there are windows on the building, once again, they comply with the perspective. So if we have a window here, it's just getting in here, and these lines are parallel to these lines, and so they conform to the perspective, they converge also to this vanishing point, okay? If we have a door here, maybe let's say it's this height, then we pull a line from there, which is essentially the horizon line. and just go about it like that, okay? And it takes some time to understand which lines converge where, but with experience you'll start seeing and understanding this better. This building may be just a house and it may have a roof, and this roof conforms to a completely different set of perspective lines that I don't want to complicate you with, but just so you can read this object well. So you may have a roof here, you may have anything like a drain pipe running through this all the way to the ground. You may have another window here, but that's the gist of 2 points perspective. So now let's create one final swatch like this, maybe this direction. And what I want to show you again together with the reference is what actually is happening here, okay? So what happens here is that you see all the lines sort of moving backwards to the left, and converging to one vanishing point that's probably way outside the scene's borders, okay? So let's say it's, I'll represent it using my notebook here, and it's just going to be somewhere around here even, because it's usually very far away, or maybe a little close, right? I exaggerated just a bit. So you have this line here, and all the lines representing the roofs of the buildings actually come out of that line, that point on the horizon line, okay? So every line almost that you see here that represents the roofs of the buildings comes out of this point. So we have this roof of the building on the center left. So this is the roof. Now these parts of the roofs are a little different, and the vertical lines are a little different, okay? This is just another type of perspective, or in this case there's no really perspective, they're just perfectly vertical. I just want you to understand that all of these lines converge here, okay? Now this is a bit of a tricky scene, and I'll show you in a moment why, but generally speaking this is the roof. We have here the roof of the lower building, and hopefully you can start picturing what I'm sketching here. You have the big window here in the foreground. We have the roof here at a very challenging angle actually. We have that chimney here. We have actually quite a few of those weird little chimneys, and there's one final roof at the very back that also complies with that perspective. And all the windows also, same thing, same story, comply with that perspective. The door, upper part of the door complies with that perspective, okay? So hopefully you start getting the picture. The light in this case comes from here, so we do see that all of these sides of the roofs are a little darker. And also these sides of the chimneys, and there's a bit of a shadow on the roof itself here, and yeah. So basically you get the picture. Now the tricky part here in this specific scene is the street, because the street doesn't converge to that vanishing point. And why is that? Because it's at an angle, okay? It's not a level. So if it was level, it would just comply with this. Why? Because a level street is level with the roof, usually. So it will, with this type of roof, or at least with the door, because roofs can be special, doors are more standard. So when you look at a door, the floor is usually parallel to the upper part of the door. The thing with this scene though is that the floor is not, it's actually a street going up. And so we don't get a line coming out of the horizon line like this, of the vanishing point here. We actually have a line that goes a little like this, and it hits somewhere above it, okay? And this represents, and this is how I could visually perceive that this street is actually going up. And the way you can really see this is in the bottom parts of the building. You see there's this colored area. We have blue and we have here some orange. And this one goes out of the vanishing point like the rest of them. But you can very easily see it's not parallel to the street. Okay, so this is actually a street at an angle. So this is just one hint for that. So hopefully this little explanation didn't make you even more confused. We have this building at the back here as well that also conforms to the perspective. Okay, so basically what we have is a very zoomed in 2 points perspective. And why 2 points? It's very challenging to see, but the other one is really far away to the right, thus is irrelevant, okay? If it's so far into the distance, it just becomes irrelevant because it doesn't pull lines together in a way that makes them converge there, let's imagine that this point moves way to the left, okay? So these lines, instead of being closed off like this, slowly become more open, more open, more open, and in the infinity, they're actually parallel perfectly, okay? So just a little note on what's going on with the drawing itself. And yeah, this is it. This is the quick explanation I wanted to give you. It turned into a very long explanation. Hopefully it's still clear. So now that we're done with the really quick real-time demo, I want us to move on to the recording from yesterday, and I will narrate everything and explain what I'm doing, okay? So let's get started. Okay, so I'm starting out with trying to figure out where the lines are coming from, because in the beginning you don't have really a clue. Nothing really helps you know that, and a lot of people have been asking me recently, how do I start a painting or a drawing or a sketch? Where do you start from? And for me it's very random at times. I will make a video to address this specific question, just because I see it repeats many times. So now I'm trying to find again the shape of the lines that come out of the vanishing point. Once I got two lines that I feel comfortable with, I feel like I can start building the shapes of the little houses here and dividing the roof. Now the roofs here, as I said, they don't exactly conform to the line I'm drawing now doesn't conform to the perspective. The line I'm working on now is. But the diagonal lines sort of move into another separate vanishing point, which is a bit of a more complex concept. But we don't need to think about that too much now. So now I'm just dropping those vertical lines. Now, mind you, there's a bit of a skewing in the drawing, just because if you look at the sides of the sketchbook, due to the slight angle, it won't be perfectly vertical all throughout the canvas, let's say, but hopefully you'll understand. But anyway, the first line I just drew for the other roof was parallel to the line of the lower roof. Okay, so you do have some things to hold on to that help you figure out where to drop every line. Okay. Now I'm making it a little longer because the roof goes over the wall, and this line conforms with the perspective, okay? So, and this one also as well, the one above it. And this is a bit of a challenging angle, especially if you look at the reference as well. You can see it's very, very diagonal, and it's very sort of, I don't even know how to call that shape, but it's a parallelogram, yeah. So it's just a very skewed, squashed parallelogram, which makes things a little harder. But slowly but surely you work at it and you're able to improve your ability to deal with these difficult angles, okay? So I'm basically just blocking out the houses one by one, just trying to understand where they go, and now I'm getting to the road that, as I mentioned, does not fade or does not converge to the same vanishing point because it's at a different angle, okay? So next, now I'm moving on to the leftmost building, and you notice how I was able to capture all of the buildings relatively accurately on my moleskin. This is really sometimes a matter of luck, and I find out that I didn't plan well, because as you can see, I don't really build up things slowly, I just go straight to sketching them. But in this example I did get kind of lucky, but well, it's not entirely luck. I think I just have a good sense of composition and where to place everything, okay? Now again, the building at the back is also conforming with the perspective, and because I have a few lines coming out of the vanishing point, I can already place new ones without stretching them all the way to the vanishing point. So this right section, the top line of it, the one I'm touching right now, is actually conforming with the perspective, but I didn't need to continue it all the way to the vanishing point. Okay, so hopefully you can see how this works. We have just one main group of parallel lines, and they all move to the left. And the ones that aren't won't converge to the vanishing point, okay? I know it may sound like a little bit like a broken record, but it's really, things like this are important to understand if you want to be able to master perspective drawing. Now I'll get in the chimney, and I got this weird structure on the right. The round part was a real challenge, I have to admit. But anyway, the chimney as well. So this is a vertical line, this is a vertical line, these are all vertical lines, but when I get to this top line, I need to make sure it again conforms with the perspective. And this other line at the top converges to the right vanishing point that is almost insignificant, invisible. Okay, and once you have this grid again of lines that come out of the vanishing point, you can kind of guess how it goes between them. You'll notice how for the windows, I don't necessarily use the vanishing point dogmatically to just get the right angle, the most perfect angle, because you can develop a feeling of what's right. Okay, same with this chimney. I didn't extend any lines. I just put it in there. And again, you see it may look like it's tilted outside. It's just due to the angle. Apologies about that. Yeah. And now I'm just getting to work on the street. And again, this one is not parallel. It's at an angle, and so it's a bit more extreme. And the good proof of that is the lower parts of the buildings that are painted. One in blue, one in dark blue, one in orange, that are definitely not parallel to that road. Okay, but this curb is parallel to the first line I did, and I'm gonna get it in, and another line that I'm gonna get is also parallel. So you do want to get these things accurately. Just getting in some of the small details in the curb. There is a break in it, so you want to highlight that just for later on. And here's the colored part of the bottom sides of the front walls, and again, these are not parallel to the curb. It's too extreme of an angle, and thus proving that the road is in fact not leveled. Yeah, it's just one of those streets that are going up or down at an angle. Now really, you can see how I stop for a while, try to think, where should I continue? I added another line on top of that roof because there are some tiles there that are shingles that are important to place. We have another one of those little chimneys. This one is not at the front, but rather more at the back. Same for the other chimney I'm getting at right now. So yeah, this is real time. It's all real time, and it just goes to show you that sometimes you have to stop and really assess things. So for, again, the vertical lines are all just vertical, so I don't have to think about that too much. But then this line, the top line of the window, and again the bottom line that I'll get to in a moment, they all have to match the perspective. Now I did make a mistake. The line you see at the very bottom of this structure, representing the colored area at the bottom, should be more at an angle. It should be more at an angle. I just did it a little extreme to separate it from the sidewalk, but it was my bad. Okay, so now just getting the window in. And as a preparation for the watercolor, I already indicate where the shadow under the window is gonna be. And there's this weird detail there on the wall that I'm just gonna get in a moment. And right now I'm indicating where the shadows are, the shadows under the roof, because the light comes sort of from the left but top as well. It's a very strong sun condition, and you can see a clear separation between the shaded part of the walls and the lighter part. Just getting in the small detail here. Just slowly building it up. Once you have the infrastructure and all the shapes of the buildings, you can really just go at it and add the details in without too much difficulty. The beginning is indeed the challenging part, and I get it. I can understand why people have a hard time with that. Now, getting in some trees in the background, they didn't really help the overall composition. Well, maybe slightly. I'm still not sure about these trees. There was just a hint of some trees at the back, so I decided to make it a little more exaggerated because I felt this area was lacking a bit. But the painting itself, I didn't feel like I had a strong center of attention. It wasn't really clear what's going on enough to my taste, so yeah. And now what I did was draw sort of a guideline under the roof because the two windows and the door begin at the same area. Okay, so this is something I will do occasionally. So you can see the top part of the window here, and in a moment I'll get the door in, and you'll be able to better understand. Now this is a lot again, and this is something I go back to a lot lately in the videos. a lot about just doing and experiencing this yourself. Just by looking at a video, you won't be able to do it. Oh, by the way, now the door comes in and you see it starts at the very same guideline that I threw in there for the window. Okay, so just I did it for that. And now I figured that the door is way too squashed, so I just make it a little larger. I did a few mistakes here with the proportions, definitely. So anyway, yeah, you won't master anything just by watching videos. It's really about practicing. And I myself, in the beginning, when I was just learning like watercolor, I would really put hours of watching videos and learning, and it was good for inspiration and for just feeling more confident that some people can do it, so I can too. But I started really improving when I flipped it and made it like probably for about 1 hour of watching something like a video or something like this, I did like 3 hours of practice. So this is a good ratio. And also I think it's okay to consult with resources when you actually have a specific question. Definitely, if you're like, I can't get an even wash, so you go to YouTube and you search for even wash or wash control, then you have something specific. But for me, I know that I tend to get in the habit of just zombie consuming. I just look at a video and another video and another video and another video, and it just doesn't really help. You know, it's fun, it's exciting to see beautiful paintings, but it doesn't really help. So yeah, just a little point on that. By the way, let me know. I get a lot of feedback on the narrations. People seem to be happy with them, so let me know if this is still true and you enjoyed this and learn by this method. Just getting in that final line here representing again the shadow under the roof, and we are really close to finishing this one just in terms of the sketch. Like, this is done. So friends, I hope this video was helpful. I promise I will make a video about perspective specifically and just talk about some more concepts in more detail in the future. It's something I'm getting at. I just have so much planned for you guys before that, okay? So today I had a really fun day. I just did like a very, very loose painting that you can see here. Ultra loose, like one of my looser stuff. And really just trying to find my voice in the watercolor painting world, because do I have something here? No, okay. Because I just go through so many challenges in the learning curve. It goes up, it goes down, it goes up. It's crazy. So yeah, I may take a step back and really go inside and figure out like my approach to it and work really hard more inside and talk about other things in the meantime. As I build my skill set, I'm really starting to focus more in my practice sessions, really going deep and feeling the medium and not being distracted by other things around me, like really just focusing on the creation and on the practice. And hopefully I can come back refreshed in a short while. I don't think it'll be that long, with some new insights and at a better level, okay? So thank you so much for following. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Follow me on Instagram and Snapchat, and I will see you again tomorrow.